Director, we need to choose a location for our headquarters. Once we do that, we can start to generate energy, pump water, grow food, and build mines. There's an ore deposit nearby. I suggest we build a mine there. With basic industrial resources being produced, we now need to provide for our workers. They'll need both food and water.
We're picking up the strange energy signature from beyond the edges of our colony.
It looks like the enemy may have dropped some kind of resource. The corporation has a new collection tower that might be useful. With this new resource, we should now be able to create some types of new landmass. This should allow us to expand and be more productive. Now that we've proven ourselves, we've been given access to the intercorporate commodity market. From the market, we'll be able to schedule shipments of our extra resources. In return, we'll earn tech credits, which can be used to purchase new technologies. Director, we need to choose a location for our headquarters. Once we do that, we can start to generate energy, pump water, grow food, and build.
Little bit of technical snafus. Work ran a little late, but we're here. For some reason, OBS didn't want to recognize the camera today. I don't know what was going on. Discord didn't have a problem with it. OBS did. Who knows? Something got grumpy. Well, let's see. What are we doing today? I've been doing a whole bunch of playtesting, and my camera's a little out of focus there, aren't we? Let's see if we can get that in a little bit more in focus. There we go. Been doing a whole bunch of playtesting. Things are coming together, working on some polish, some juice here and there, if you will, adding a little bit of sound effects, spiffing up the menus a little bit, kind of some animation, just kind of adding those little details that just need to get done. They need to get done. They need to be added to make the game feel good. The player won't even notice that they're there. You guys may not notice them if you see them today, but they really do help a ton. So that's a lot of what I've been doing. The original push was to get to Steam Next Fest in June. And a few things have conspired to make that not great. I've got new art coming in for the Steam page, which I 100% wanted in before Steam Next Fest. I think that's going to be done in the next 2 weeks, but that 2 weeks is kind of pushing it. Like, I wanted the demo live in 2 weeks from today, basically. So the art's coming in a little bit slower than I expected, which is fine. I think it still would have been there on time. The demo itself, you can always polish a demo more, and it's always hard to let go of your baby and let other people play it. And then the third thing that really pushed it over the edge was I have a work trip scheduled that week. Steam Next Fest starts, I believe, on the 10th, and I'm scheduled to fly out on the 10th. And that just sounds like a horrible plan to try and launch the demo on Steam Next Fest, which is the only festival that you're guaranteed to get into, and do it while traveling. It just didn't seem like a good idea. So what that means is all of a sudden I have another 4 months to polish the game. The hope is still that the demo is going to get out before the next Steam Next Fest, which is in October. The goal would still be to get the demo out sometime the end of June or sometime in July. Who knows if that gets pushed later, but what's nice now is that the demo is very playable. There's nothing particularly broken about it, but it just needs some polish and a little bit better communication to the player as to what's going on, in particular with the combat. The combat is really, it's the roughest piece right now. It's there. It's not terribly consequential. It's pretty uneventful, if I'm honest. And I don't want this to be a combat game, but I'd like the combat to be a little bit more important. So one of the things that I'm thinking about doing, and I was reading an article earlier today or yesterday of cascading failure spirals, right? Like when you do something wrong, like one stat gets out of whack and it causes all kinds of other ones to get out of whack. And this article was talking about one of my favorite games, RimWorld. I love the game RimWorld. I think it's brilliant. How they actually use the colony wealth, so to speak, basically your score of your colony as a determinant of how big the enemy waves are, how big is the attack that shows up, and so that has a couple nice features. One, that the enemies kind of ramp up with you, so it kind of matches your challenge. It also means that if you get beat back down, the next wave of enemies is also going to be smaller, so you have time to recover. You can get out of that cascading spiral. So I'm interested in exploring that idea of working on the size of the enemy spawns based on the colony wealth, so to speak. And one way I'm interested in doing that is by potentially using this reputation score. So I've already got a reputation score in the game, and it's not getting used a ton. It helps unlock the tech tree. You gain some happiness the more reputation you have. But it could also effectively represent the wealth or the success of your colony. And I think that's an interesting idea. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change the amount of reputation you get for every shipment that you send off world. Every shipment that you send off world right now, you're getting, I think 100 reputation, which is already overinflated. We're going to knock that down to maybe like 10. And then I think every building that you add is going to have a rep score with it. It's going to have some reputation added to it. And that's how we're going to track kind of our colony wealth. At least we're going to start there. So let's get the things going right here. So the first thing I want to do is change the amount of reputation that gets awarded when you, for completing a quest, for sending shipments off world. And that's here. So this right now this is where the corporate directives, the corporate quests come in. And this does need some tweaking, but we're going to go from 100 per ship to 10. We're just going to nuke that thing. And what this loads to ship. This is, again, one way of kind of scaling what the corporation's asking you to do. We look at how many ships, how many supply ships your colony has. And so the more supply ships you have, the bigger the directive that can come from the boss. Okay, so that's one bit. The other thing that I want to do, well, actually, let's go look at the market as well. So the market is another place where we do this because we're sending shipments off of there as well. So let's take a look. Confirm trade. Okay, so where are we? Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. All right, so where are we actually? Oh, here we go. Okay, so here we are. We're setting this up. And again, we're doing 100 per volume of order. We're going to do 10. So again, every shipment of stuff that goes off, you get 10. I think that's... We might want to make that more nuanced at some point, but I think that's gonna dramatically change things. So the next thing I want to think about is, let's pop back here into Unity and let that compile. Are we not going to... Or maybe it already did. Look at that. Next thing I want to look at is I'm just going to pull up one of the... Let's just pull up the mine. All right, so we got this beautiful building of mine. Now, when we build this, I'd like the reputation of the wealth. We might rename it a little bit, but the reputation score, the score of our colony is going to go up every time we add a building. So I'm trying to think about how, if I want to do that as part of a stat, that's probably where it makes sense. We can add a new stat in here. Or we might send a default. I guess I can create a default stat too. That would actually make a lot of sense. So I think we're just going to create a stat in here where each building, maybe each building is worth, I don't know, 50 or 100. I don't want to get it too big. I don't want the number to just skyrocket. Then I want the number to be, I don't want you to be sitting there on 50,000 reputation, you know, after playing for an hour. That's not what we're going for. So let's edit this. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's edit the script. All right. So let's go find where our stats are in stat. Okay. So we have some unused ones, which is great. Unused stat. We're going to name this to reputation. Reputation. Okay. And then let's see. Get global stat upgrade. That's not what I want. Here we go. Here's default stats. So this is just a place where, in case I forget to implement a stat for a unit, we have default values for it. So let's go. What makes sense? If we're getting 10 per load, which really seems like a lot now. Let's go with 25. Oops, I do not want to put, I want to put a comma after that. Okay, we're going to go with 25. This is probably going to need to get tweaked. We might do a little play test just to see how this works. Great. Okay. Then what we also need to do, we need to come back to our player unit. All right, let's just look and see what we got here. So player unit. I think we can do this on enable. So this isn't a behavior. I have unit behaviors and they get toggled on and off. I think it's simple enough to add this here. Okay, reputation manager. Let's go see change reputation. And what we're going to do is get stat reputation like that. And of course it wants an integer, so we're going to do get int stat, or stat, I can spell. There is a get int. Oh, is that, maybe that's on my behavior. I should have been. Huh. All right, we'll just convert. Hey, easy in motion. Glad you like the videos. Hey, I'm glad they're useful. I'm glad they're useful. It's fun to make videos. Some of those videos are pretty old, and I'm glad that they're still useful. All right, so here we're going to remove reputation. All right. I think that works. Or maybe we want to do it here when we play. We might want to actually do it here when we, that might be a better way to do it. So we're going to do it here when we place, which is what I was kind of mumbling on before about these unit behaviors. Once they get placed, then they check and see if they're functional and yada, yada. And then let's move this down. We're going to move this down here to die. And then I think these get called in different places. So we delete unit, which is when the player themselves chooses to delete it. This is where you get killed by the enemy. So let's make sure it's in both places. The other thing I was thinking about again, this idea of this cascading spirals of failure. The way the game's set up, it did take some inspiration a little bit in terms of the combat from tower defense games, with the idea that you're gonna build up your units and then let the enemies come at you. And an issue that I've been dealing with is that what that then means is if they kind of breach your defenses, if they get past your defenses, there's almost no stopping them. And as a player, I don't know that's going to be frustrating, especially if the waves increase. Now, if we increase slowly enough that the player can kind of see, okay, I lost a little bit of my defense, I got to build it stronger next time, then that's probably okay. The other thing that I was thinking about, and I don't know if this is cheesy, weird, doesn't fit the context. The other thing I was thinking about is when a building is destroyed, what if it explodes? What if it takes out some of the enemies nearby? Maybe it takes out some of the player units next to it too. So maybe it does significant damage to any units that are within a one tile radius. And that way, if they breach your defenses, it's gonna like explode, take out hopefully a good chunk of the enemy. And then the enemy's only gonna make it in a few buildings in, instead of taking out your entire base. Because if you play for 2 hours and you misjudge the defense and they get past and they just run through your base, it sounds frustrating. All right, so let's see what happens here. All right, there's our, whoa. There's our, I hear some new sound effects. I've added some sound effects that are actually, some of these are too quiet with the music. Okay, let's see what happens. If I add a solar panel, our reputation should go up some more. There we go, okay. But it went up when I added, that's not what I want. Let's see, can I recommend any visual coding asset? No, in all honesty, I can't. I know this channel grew originally based on a lot of visual coding tools. I guess I should preface that one. I should let me qualify that answer. It depends what you're trying to do. If you are brand new to Unity and game development as a whole, well, so let's say if you're brand new to Unity, trying to learn Unity, then I think Unity visual scripting is totally adequate to bootstrap yourself into learning the engine and understanding how it works. If you're new to coding, I would kind of assume that if you're asking about visual scripting, it's also a great way to learn the thinking process and how it works. And so if you're in Unity, I think Unity visual scripting is great. You are not going to make a very complicated game. The game that I'm making here, there's no way you're making this with Unity visual scripting or any visual scripting tool that I've seen for Unity. I've heard great things about blueprints for Unreal. So if that's more if Unreal is your cup of tea, then I've heard great things about it. I don't know what the limits are. And the reason I qualify this is, number one, the performance of Unity visual scripting is not amazing. So if you start making something complicated, you're going to run into performance issues. But more than that, you're going to hit limitations of things you just can't do. For example, one thing with Unity visual scripting, maybe they've updated some of this, but if you want to rename a variable, it's a lot of manual work to do that. And so changing something in your game can be really hard. And that's why you don't want to make a complex game with visual scripting, because you invariably need to change things when you're making a more complex game. And that can be challenging to do with Unity visual scripting. I think if you've never made a game before, jump into Unity visual scripting, make 2 or 3 small prototypes, have some fun with it. And then text-based coding is not that scary. Any good courses on programming? Yes, that I can give to you. Again, in the Unity world, search for Unity Create with Code. It's a free course. I think it's like 40 hours of course. Teach you how the Unity engine works, and it will teach you how to do it with a C#. It's fabulous. Speaking as a former teacher, I used it in my classroom when we had during COVID. It was fantastic. Pedagogically, from a teaching perspective, they do a really nice job. The pacing's good. They have written instructions as well as video instructions. So depending on how you like to take in your information. And if you already know how to use some of the Unity engine stuff, you can go through that quicker and focus on the coding aspects. I promise you, if you get through all 40 some hours of the course, you will be able to make a small game with Unity. It's not going to be amazing. It's not going to be huge. Even my little game here, you're not going to be able to make this game, but you can start to make stuff, and that gets you on your journey. So Create with Code, Unity Create with Code. Fantastic, fantastic course. They did a really, really nice job of that. Okay, so let's see what we do have a little bit of a problem here. And that is that we got credit for a couple things there. Okay, so we deleted and it went away. That's great. But if you watch, I don't think it'll happen again this time. Yeah. So what's happening is that blue object right there, that is a player unit. So when that gets created, we are also getting the reputation. So we're kind of off by, if I add another one, actually, if I probably add, because it's pooling it. Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, and again, I don't mean to poo-hoo the visual scripting all that much. I actually made a video about this. It wasn't very popular at all. Of basically answering the question, in my opinion, of should you use visual scripting? If you use visual scripting and you stay making games for more than a year, maybe 2 years, you will hit the limits of what visual scripting can do. And there will just come a time when you need to make the shift. I did it. I started with Playmaker, which I know is still really popular. But you hit the limits of it, and then you have to make the shift. You either quit or you make the shift to text-based coding. A lot of people quit. A lot of people quit. Okay, so we need a better place to put this. This should not be here. But this is kind of the place where it also makes the most sense. This is the player unit. Let's see. All right, so what we can do. Okay, I didn't want to do like some get component search, like does this component work? So what we can do, we can just put in a little bit of catch here. We'll do if unit type does not equal player unit type building spot. And we'll do the same over here. All right. Because again, when we put that little blue highlighty thing down, we don't want that to... I don't know why I'm coughing so much today. We don't want that little blue highlighty thing to give us any points. Okay, and so right now, let's see, I'll make this a little bit bigger. Now, well, people can actually see. So right now we've got 175, which is fine because we have 3 units, right? So if I delete one of these, we'll lose 25 up there. And by placing our headquarters, we completed a directive quest. So we got some points. So it seems a little silly that we're getting those. Let's see, we want to actually be in directives. I think I actually want to... What I want to look at, I was thinking I had that on here, but why? Let's go take a look. So this is move unit directive. Let's go take a look at, maybe I'm passing in this directive here somewhere. So on complete, well, let's look at this another way. We just got a reputation for completing the directive, and I don't really want that to be happening quite so easily. Oh, right. Okay, so it's just one of those hard parts, right? And so this again is one of those things where I'm talking about with visual scripting. So right now I'm going in and changing the way something fundamentally works, but I can search for things. I can search for a function. I can see where a function's used. That doesn't really exist in visual scripting tools that I have used. Okay. Well, let's test a little bit more. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the source of that reputation is coming from a different place. So let's go in here. Let's put a breakpoint there, and we'll attach. Again, more features that a lot of visual scripting doesn't have. Although a really nice thing about Unity visual scripting is that you can actually see the values getting passed from unit to unit in the window. Super, super helpful for debugging. It's like having a breakpoint everywhere. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna put this down and we didn't hit that breakpoint. How the hell did we not? Let's try placing a building and see if we hit that breakpoint. Every once in a while, Visual Studio and Unity don't like to talk to each other very much. Okay, now we hit that breakpoint. Okay, great. Because we completed that. Okay, so let's see if we move these guys. Right, move them a third time. Okay, so I didn't get any reputation for finishing that one. Why are we getting so much reputation at the beginning? Where is that initial reputation coming from? I mean, it's kind of okay if you start it with some extra reputation, but it's a little weird. Okay. Oh, so now we hit the breakpoint. Okay. So there's 25. We should hit this at least 3 times. So let's take a look here. So we're hitting 25. So that should be coming from a unit. Okay. So that's coming from a player unit. I don't know how well folks can see that. Call stack there. All right. Again, 25 coming from the player unit. Again, 25 coming from the player unit. So that's my 3 units that I've added. And there's a 4th one. Oh, my shuttle behavior. Oh, there it is right there. Shuttles. I was getting credit for all my shuttles. All right. Let's fix that. All right. Always exceptions. Always exceptions. Makes sense. All right. So if the player unit is not a building spot and unit type is not a shuttle. And let's copy that. And that's going to go up here as well. Should we look and see what other types of units we don't want to do this? I think it looks okay. Oh, that's funny. Well, that's where that extra 100 reputation was coming from, because we start off with 4 shuttles. Um, Say what? Sometimes towards the end of the day, as simple as they might be, I start writing like Boolean statements really poorly and my brain doesn't see them right. So let's see if this is an issue. Did I do something stupid? All right, so unit type is infantry, so we should pass. Okay, good. Unit type, great. Unit type cargo shuttle. So that's true. Wait, wait. Cargo shuttle. Oh, I'm just a moron. It's not a shuttle base that I'm trying to skip. It's the cargo shuttle. So far, I've been streaming for half an hour. I think I've written 4 lines of code and it almost works. All right, let's see here. All right, come on, 75. Okay, there we go. So we got 75 reputation. That's great. And as I continue to add things, let's unlock things. We'll just make sure we're still working. If I add a solar panel, if I add a mine, that should bump things up as well. And again, let's make sure I'm completing this directive. This shouldn't give me any reward. Yeah, okay. But let's see, if I open my market and let's say, let's sell some water. Give ourselves lots of resources here. And then we build. All right, we're gonna build a supply ship and see. So there we go. We've got, I can go full screen here again. We're getting 10 reputation for completing this directive, which seems great. That's working correctly. We got our 25 for that. We got another 25 for this one. So realistically, let's build the base here. So that's going to take off. Okay, we completed that. We got our 10, so that's working great. I just want to complete the base here because I'm too lazy to actually count. All right, so we should be getting, so this is the complete base when the first, this triggers the first night, the first attack. So we're going to get to 250. We're going to get to 250 reputation. Okay. So what I'm thinking about here is we need to somehow then scale up. What I want to do is use that score. We're going to use that score as a way of controlling the waves. How what our spawn waves are like. Pineapples BS, do you have a video on how to make an enemy script for a platformer with visual scripting in Unity? I do not. I do not have that. Sorry, no, there is a series of videos on a top-down shooter game that's got some AI stuff in it, but nothing with a platformer. They are out there though. Trying to think. I'm pretty sure when Unity bought out Bolt and created Unity Visual Scripting, I think they bought their tutorials, and so they do have a tutorial on a basic platformer. I know that used to exist. I would guess it still exists. Okay, and the cool thing about this too is I can add reputation this way through my little cheat code, which is great. Hey Alex, thanks. Yeah, thanks. I think it is coming along. The sound effects are nice. I added those in last night. That's the kind of the polish that I'm slowly adding in as ideas pop into my head of how to change things. Everything I added in, if you watch the top left here, so if I add myself a shipment, the shipment now slides in from the left. So fancy. Still playing around with the sound effect volume. Hey, Dennis Gaming. Thanks for joining yet again. Much appreciated. All right. Yeah, I think it is coming together. I think it's coming together. It's coming together nice. I think it's one of those things where you think you're basically there, and the truth is you're just not, because there's so much more polish that can go into it. But I've been tweaking with lighting and this and that, and I've got the day-night light working again. I don't know, for some reason I turned that off. Upgraded the map a little bit. I don't know if, let's see here. So the map, I don't know how well this will show up on stream. The mini map now has little icons to show you where enemy structures are. So there's the enemy structure. And when it actually spawns, we get some more stuff. The color of the sun changes again. I don't know why I turned that off, but I did. Little bits and pieces. The biggest thing that needs work now is still, again, the combat. The combat needs to happen. There we go, get our enemy spawn. If I go off here, then we get some extra little arrows there on our mini map. They do disappear. I need to figure out how to... Oh, it's because they're actually visible to the mini map. The other thing I did is, this is again kind of a no-brainer, but a little bit of polish. So when you go and look at, when you go like adventuring out and you can see new tiles, old tiles disappear, or tiles that you can't see anymore disappear, which I think is reasonable. It's a fog of war type, but now they stay in the mini map. They used to disappear. So that means as you explore, you can still see the shape of the land. The color coding of the tiles up there also gives you some idea of what you saw, so you can go find resources and whatever. Small little details. That's what the next couple months is just going to be. Small little details for the most part. Yeah, polish lasts absolutely forever. I even gave, it's not super nice, but the little infantry guys here, they've got a little animation, little dust puff when they land and when they take off. And then they'll actually, I think they'll reload. I think right now they just reload their weapons whenever they land. Yeah. Little bits of polish. At some point, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off, and I got to release the demo. Right now, I opened up on the Steam page. There's a place you can sign up for playtest, and I've got about 100 people signed up for it so far, and I've released it to 30. Not a single person has played the damn game. I'm not sure how effective the playtesting is going to be. I'm a little suspicious that a lot of those were bots. They came in so fast at the beginning. I'm wondering if there's bots that are watching for playtests. I'm not sure why, what the advantage would be, but I guess I'm rambling to say I want to get the demo out so I can get this into players' hands and you all can tell me what sucks and what doesn't suck. Yeah, I think it's coming together. I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, so we've got this reputation scaling with our building size, or our not our building size, our colony size, which I think makes a lot of sense. We can also add more value to some buildings than others. Again, I think that will make sense. And I think that it was interesting to read the article that RimWorld is doing that. I knew RimWorld did that, but I hadn't like processed that. I hadn't like consciously thought about that in terms of this game. I think that is a mechanic that can be reasonably hidden from the player. I don't think it has to be super well communicated. But we're going to use this score here to control our wave size. Other thing I got working, I think just today, finally got the tweening of the menus to work again. I was breaking stuff left and right. I think I figured out what was wrong with it. Yeah, I'll get some on the weekend. We'll see if we get some playtesters on the weekend. Hopefully. One of the things I've seen about playtesting, somebody wrote in, made a post on it, that what they did is they made it an open playtest, and so as soon as you push the button, you could get the game, which I think probably makes a lot of sense. I don't know. It's hard to find playtests. I don't know that Steam necessarily has a discovery mechanism for it. So I think if people do find it, they push the button because sure, why not? And then the email rolls in, a few days, a week, 2 weeks later, hey, you have access to this game, and they don't go do it. Whereas I think if they could push the game and play it immediately, I think I'd get more playtesters. But kind of at that point, if we're just letting anybody and everybody playtest it, why not do a demo? Okay, let's see if we can break some stuff. You know what I'm actually gonna do? I was thinking about this before the stream. I wanted to make sure we commit this stuff and maybe we're gonna make a little experimental branch here because we're gonna break a bunch of stuff. Rep changes, rep amount changes. All right. I got a 5-year-old computer that's running great, but let's make sure that commit gets pushed away from here. So we're going to do a new branch. We're going to do, we're just going to call this experimental. I don't want to create tons and tons of branches, but because that gets really confusing, we're just going to have an experimental branch. That way, when I totally screw this up and I don't have to roll it back and I still have a functional copy. Okay, so let's take a look at this whole janky ass system of player targeting and spawning. So I actually have like spawn curves here, which is not an unuseful thing. So I know it's kind of small. The idea here is, so you have power levels. So the crystals themselves, the spawn points have these crystals that they power up. And so every day they gain a power level. I think I maxed it out at like 100. And then so like, you can see here, so like basically day 10 after crystals powered up, you've got eight units coming at you, as opposed to the day before you only had 6. We can change their types and what have you. I still think that might still make some sense to have that kind of functionality. But this power level, I think, needs to get converted to come from this reputation so that the crystals aren't powering up every day. Yeah. Let's see. Dennis Gaiman, he'll release the demo for your Gravity Maze by May 12th at the latest, trying to figure out the best for the demo. Yeah, Dennis Gaiman, remind me, are you releasing that on Are you releasing that on Steam? President Zaddy, thanks for joining. Okay, so we're just going to rip a lot of this stuff out of here. Maybe we just keep letting the crystals power up because that's not really breaking anything. We are going to have to rip that out at some point. So let's do... We're going to have a... We're going to have a spawn power. We're going to do a spawn power like this. Okay. So we're going to start at 0. I'm going to cough again. Haven't coughed all day till we got on here. So we're going to have spawn power. This is what we're going to use to control our spawning. And we might still use that spawn curve because that's kind of a nice little, I guess that's a struct over there. It's a nice little struct to have, a little way to control this. So what I want to do, let's close a lot of this stuff because I don't really need it anymore. I'm going to pull up our day-night manager because our day-night cycle runs a ton of stuff. So everything's kind of timed off of this stuff. And what I want to look at, let's look for our events here. Where did I put our events? Okay, transition to night. So this is the event that we want to... Okay, so here's another question. We got a few folks here. Oh, so Dennis Gaming, you're saying you are releasing on Steam. So the question I would have for you, are you doing the Steam Next Fest in June? If you're going to release your demo, are you going to do Steam Next Fest? Or are you going to wait till October or longer? Just kind of curious. Okay. So here's the question for you. I just asked Dennis a question, but here's a question for everybody here who's vaguely maybe paying attention. And let me preface it a little bit because of course I have to. One of the biggest issues with the game right now in terms of user friendliness is when a new spawn point starts spawning characters, because they don't all spawn at the same time. You start with one and then as right now, it waits like 10 days and then the next one turns on. How do you communicate that to a player? How do you communicate that, hey, there's a new spawn point and it's now active? And make sure that the player sees that and does that. Is that a message that pops up? Hey, this is happening. Obviously, I've kind of got my narrator assistant person who does at the moment have a message that she is supposed to play. She doesn't always do it. Do you maybe have a list? Do you telegraph the player like here at the beginning of the day? So when the sun rises, you're ready to get building. You've got at this point 4 minutes of your day. Do you then like post like here are the waves that are coming at you tonight? Or does that feel artificial? I don't know. I'm curious if people have a good way to communicate that there is a new spawn point. How do you get that player's attention, make sure they see it? Because if they don't, their entire base can get wiped out. The demo is for Endless Replayability Fest. Oh, cool. Very cool. This game, drop a link either in chat here, or I think you're on the Discord. It'd be fun to see it if your Steam page is up. I feel like I've seen it. Let's see, Alex, you got sound and circle for indicator flag on the minimap. So yeah, we definitely got that, flashing ideally. Yeah, I need to do the flashing part. Yeah, I've got those pieces. It still doesn't feel like it's enough. So there's a sound effect. We can play a sound effect. But at some level too, you have to train the player that, hey, that sound effect means this happened. And maybe I just really need to dial in the fact that your assistant, the narrator pops in and is like, hey, this is happening. You need to know this is happening. That's been a little buggy. So yeah. So yeah, Dennis Gaming. Yeah. So definitely, like, my narrator basically is my tutorial, right? She pops in and lets you know what you need to do. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's enough. She just has to pop in. Okay, so let's do this. That's related to these events actually that I was gonna look at. Which event, at what point do we want to use our reputation to calculate the spawn? I think we want to use the beginning of the day. So wherever we are at the beginning of the day, that's going to determine the spawn for that night. And the reason we might want to do that is because then we can predetermine if another spawn point is going to light up and start spawning. And if it is, we can then we can make sure that message gets to the player. Hey, this is going to happen. Okay. So transition to day. That is what we're going to look at here. We're going to add a function. So we're back here on our spawn manager. Transition to day. Calculate spawn. All right, we're going to do calculate spawn. Apparently I did it on disable first. So here we're going to go day night manager, calculate spawn. And we're going to add that in there. All right, this is day number, and this is a delay. Wait. Actually, no, we just want to do toggle day. Toggle day is fine. We're just going to do toggle day. So there's a transition period. There's a transition period between day and night, which just kind of keeps things simple. And that's what that second parameter was, the delay, is like how long that transition period is. That way I can play animations, I can play sound effects. I know when it's going to happen. Yeah, I agree, Alex. Yeah, if the player tutorial covers it, it's just a matter of, again, I don't know how long you've been on or how long I've been rambling about it. It's this idea of this cascading failure, this article I was reading, which I was aware was happening in my game. If you get attacked from one side and you have no defenses, you can be pretty hosed pretty quickly. So, and I don't want to hold the player's hand and make it all so super simple that they don't have to do anything. But I personally, when a game just like comes out of left field with a shock that like destroys everything, I find that deeply frustrating. Right? If you haven't built up your defenses on one side of your base to deal with the first invasion, and a second invasion comes in, yeah, then you're toast. You're done. Like that's fine. Because when you start the game, you have these mobile units, these infantry that can move around, and I'm playing with the idea of there being like a hiring market that you can hire those guys and get a couple more of them. They're going to be expensive, but you can hire them. Right now, also, there's a barracks building where you can convert your workers into those infantry, but that's kind of a later game thing. So then you build up your towers, and then when the second unit starts to spawn, you can move your mobile units over there and then build up your base there. Let's see, Tech Dave, you've always got good things to say. What do you got to say today? Not an answer to the question, but can you click in the minimap and zoom to that area? Yes, you can. Yep. Anything you click on, the camera will center itself on. Okay. So let's do, what what did I call this thing? Spawn power. Great. This is going to equal, let's see, reputation manager, reputation. Let's see. So I think we want to like divide by, so we get to 250 after the first day. You conceivably, I mean, maybe 250 is a pretty good, let's start with 250. Let's start with 250. Okay, that's going to be our spawn power. That is going to be, let's actually make our spawn power an int. No need to, and we're going to go floor to int. I'm in favor of making things easier for the player when at all possible. So we'll round down. This is going to give us our spawn power. That's going to determine how much we can spawn. And then we can use these spawn curves here, and we can use our power level here to dictate what's going on. I don't love having to add all that information into the inspector. That's kind of a pain in the butt. Let's see here. Imagine you are, I imagine you are scaling the attack somehow. Are you able to have the second unit spawn small enough that even if they get into the base, they wouldn't necessarily do more damage than a building? Could you do it a bit before the other side? Right now they spawn at the same time. They spawn basically when night starts. So let me run you, I got a thought. Let me run it past you guys here. Tech Dave, what do you got to say here? Maybe when there is an attacker on your base that has a direct line to the main building, you notify the player. That can happen all the time unless the player disables in settings. So that is actually what happens is when they spawn, they'll actually create a path. If there's no path, they create a path of tiles to the unit they're trying to attack. Here's a thought that I brought up earlier, and I'm curious what people think about this. So one way I was thinking about, okay, so let's imagine you got defense over here and it's all working, but then surprise, there's an attack from the other side and you didn't catch it. Whether that's because of my shitty game design, I didn't communicate it well enough to the player, or you just ignored it and didn't catch it. And that enemy starts to come in and it destroys a building. What would it be like if that building then exploded, taking out enemies that are, or maybe just doing heavy damage to enemies that are within a one tile radius, and maybe actually even damaging the buildings that are in a one tile radius. And that way, and that goes that idea of if that little wave comes in, they're not going to do much more damage than destroy a building. I don't know. I don't think that would be that hard to add. I just don't know if that kind of like breaks that. It's not breaking the fourth wall, but kind of like, I wonder what that feels like. I mean, we could code it up. It wouldn't be that hard. That was one way I was thinking about kind of preventing that runaway spiral of defeat. Obviously, if a big enough group comes in, strong enough, they're going to like take out a big chunk. You could have like, you could essentially have a chain reaction of buildings like blowing each other up, which I think is fine. That could be kind of fun. I don't know. I'm curious what people think about that. The self-defending units, I don't know. I think it could be kind of interesting. All right. So let's edit these power curves here a little bit. So power level 1, you've got 2 units that come in. That's kind of necessary. And then what we could do, let's bump this up here. So so that would be the first night you hit that. That's great. And then let's see. So let's make it like level 4. Then you're going to get 4 of these guys coming in. It'd be nice to have some little mathematical function so this just kind of happens. And maybe that's probably the way to make it work eventually. But let's see if we can do something like that. We don't really want to go too crazy. And I wonder too if upgrades, whenever you unlock an upgrade, should that count towards this too? Because really the idea is like, this is your standing. This is how big and advanced you are. I think it's going to take a little bit of work. Okay, so we'll adjust that. Let's go back to our code here. As far as spawn power, let's look at where we're getting our spawn curves. Let's just see where this is getting used. So get spawn. Okay, so we're going to stop caring about this power level, and we are going to use spawn power. So we're going to have this number coming in from our spawn points. We don't care. So let's just maybe, I'm trying to like not gut everything immediately. All right, so let's do equals math f. We'll do maximum 1 or spawn power like that. Let's just make sure that we're always hitting that level 1 spawning. All right, let's see if that kind of works. We'll do some quick days here. We can play like 20-second days and watch it. I guess I need to build up I can add reputation too. So let's place our headquarters there. And then we're going to start our spawn, and we're going to go to day night. We're going to make these quick days. All right. So here's my spawn power. We're just going to see what's. Oop. All right, there we go. So let's see. Where's our spawn? So our spawn power is still okay. Our spawn power is still down. So let's add some more reputation. Put these guys both in the woods so they have a little bit armor bonus. All right, let's add some more rep. Let's get past. Okay, so now we're at 675. We should be at power level 2, spawn power 2. Tech Dave, I saw you wrote some comments in there. I just want to see here if we're working. The sound effects get a little goofy because the night's so short. The transition period is like 10 seconds, but our day is like 20 seconds longer or something. Okay, so spawn power 2. So we now hit spawn power 2. That's great. Let's put in a sentry tower so we can actually see what's going on. All right, Tech Dave, let's see what you had to say here. Maybe when there's an attacker on your base that has a direct... Okay, well, I read that one. You said that can work. All the enemies the same, or they're different types. Maybe them getting killed in explosion would work for melee, but not for ranged attacks. Right now in the demo, they're all going to be the same. There are currently 5 different enemy types. that are programmed into the game. Let's see here. Let's add some more rep here. Let's just go nuts here. So that should get me to power level. Let's go all the way up. Let's go to power level 8. So that won't have an effect until the next spawn point. Let's just make sure we're actually getting. Yeah, I mean, I think so. There's ranged, so they're all kind of ranged attack. There is no like. They're all kind of ranged attack. Well, that's not true. There is one little super fast dude who's basically a kamikaze, run in, explodes. All right, spawn power. Oh, I went to spawn power 16. My math is not very good. So we should get a pretty good size spawn here. Yeah, okay. I don't know what just happened to the sound, but apparently my sound effects just died. Okay, well, that works. Okay, so that works. That's great. Now what I want to look at, so the mechanics of that work. I'm gonna think about it. I don't know if we're probably not gonna get to it today because I only got about another 20, 30 minutes here of streaming. But I kind of like that idea of the buildings being a little defensive and blowing things up. And I like the fact that they could destroy buildings next to them. Like, it's not just a kind of, yeah, there's a pro and a con to it. It could be an upgrade too. It could make it an upgrade so that it's in the tech tree. It could be early on, like self-defending units, right? Power, call, I don't know, come up with some name for it of, power core overload or something. And then you could make, that's not a horrible idea. Because then what we could do is make it so that there's multiple levels of it, and so that the radius and the power of it gets bigger. So you're beginning. I mean, I don't know. It's probably only useful at the beginning of the game, I suppose. But I don't know. Anything to give more upgrades, I think, is good. Okay, so now we've got that roughed out. What we now need to look at is crystal behavior. Okay, so triad power. This is what I want to see. Where are we calling this? Okay, over here. So what I want right now, the new spawn point just powers up at so basically, well, it's some janky ass system. I don't like it. What I want to do is instead look at that spawn power, and at a certain point, we are going to open up the next spawn point, which does beg the question, when the second spawn point opens, does it spawn the same number of units? Probably not. But let's get the mechanic working in here first. Okay, so we're gonna serialize this field so we can change it in the inspector. And power level per we'll call it per crystal, because that's internally is kind of what it's called. So we're gonna start this really, so power level, let's go 4. That might be vaguely correct. So every time we get to power level 4, we are going to power up a new crystal. So let's give ourselves a little property over here so we can access that spawn power back into our crystal manager. And we're going to have a enemy spawn manager. Weak. All right. Get a reference to that. And then let's shrink all these functions down because we don't need all that many. Okay. And so add power, that's happening when we toggle to day, which is we're going to end up with race conditions there, but we'll fix that in a minute. Okay, so we're just going to comment this stuff out. What we're going to do is number of crystals. Oh, we actually have a function for that. What does that actually do? Nothing useful. Okay, what we're going to do instead is we're going to do spawn manager, spawn power divided by power level per crystal. Okay, great. That'll automatically round down. And again, we're going to take a minimum value. Actually, no, we want to take a maximum value. I don't know why that's so hard for me. I always have a hard time figuring out whether I want the min or max, and I almost always type it wrong. Almost always choose the wrong one. Yeah, Tech Dave. Yeah, I think the pro and con, I think, is pretty crucial there, right? Like, I think an explosion that does half damage to the buildings around you could be pretty great. Or even it just does a set amount of damage, and if you got weak buildings around you, they go poof, and then you could get a chain reaction, but a chain reaction would destroy parts of your base, but it would also take out the enemy. Okay. All right, so let's look and see. I probably don't need to comment. Let's not comment all this out because it's harder to read. So some of the stuff I want to do. Okay, let's go look at triad power. Let's see what happens here. So triad power, we turn on a fog revealer, or we add a fog revealer, whatever we do with it, that's great. We add our indicator object, which is our mini map object, and okay. So I think we might want to edit that a little bit, but that kind of works. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 4 number of crystals. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's probably not horribly wrong, actually. Let's see, if emit crystals, well, we're just going to put that up. Okay. number of enemy crystals is 0, we're just not like not doing anything. What the hell is this line doing? If I is greater than, nope. If I is greater than the number of crystals, then we're just going to break. We're just done. Okay, and we're going to try adding power. If we are able to add power, then we send this message. So what I want to do, we're going to add power, but we're only going to do it. We're going to look at max power level. So max power level, this is just going to be 1. Yeah, we're just gutting this whole. Yeah, whatever. We can leave that in there for now. We're just taking away this whole thing. Okay. It's a little janky. But hey. So we try to add power, then we're going to show this message. So we do show a message down here. We don't actually need these if statements here because we're only going to get in there once. Anyways. We might regret some of that, but hey, that's okay. That's why we're on the experimental branch. Okay, so what we should be able to do, our power level per crystal, this has got a value of 4. So if we get to power level of 8, do we want to, maybe we want to add a +1 on there. So now if we get to 4 larger, because this will round down because these are both integers, right? These are both integers. If we get to power level or spawn power 5, we should get a second crystal firing up. So let's test that. Getting this whole like combat thing dialed in is really that's it's the last biggest piece. It's the last biggest piece. All right. Here's our spawn power. All right, we're gonna give ourselves. All right, we're gonna go there and start our spawn. Our spawn power doesn't get calculated until the next day. Oh, let's do our short days. So I also have this indicator that shows up here that shows you where the enemy's coming in. And if you go off screen, it shows up on the mini map. So we are showing the player where the enemy is spawning. And we got a little red warning down there. We've got lots of communication, but it's still like, I know what's going on and it still doesn't feel like there's enough communication. All right, spawn power 3. Okay, so we should still just see the same number of enemies. They're coming. Pack of 2. Okay. So let's add some more. We're going to have to wait till the next day. So we've added some more reputation. So we're still, if I look over here, spawn power, we're still 3 because I did it too late. We'll take out these guys and then our next spawn should be impacted by this. All right, there we go. Okay, new enemy structure powering up. There we go. Okay, there's the new one. Minimap has 2 arrows going on it, so that worked. There's our second indicator. And the spawn over here, the spawn on the upper part of the map should be a larger one. Well, actually, they're both going to be larger spawns. Okay. So, obviously that's not ready for prime time, but that is working. So let's do a couple things here communication-wise, because communication is big, really big, actually. Crystal powered up. This is an event I want to invoke. Okay, so we are invoking that. Great. Okay, we already have that, and we're sending off the enemy. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we are invoking that, which is great. Let's go see who's actually listening to that. Crystal powering up, communication manager. Huh. I wonder if this is somehow, I wonder if that's null. I wonder if that communication is null. No, it's not. So this is this has kind of been the tricky piece here. Like this communication should be getting played. I haven't done something stupid like unsubscribe on enable and subscribe on. All right, well, let's. I'm gonna put some breakpoints in there. I mean, we know we got there. All right, let's try this. If only making video games was easy. All right, let's be smart here. We're gonna go. All right, that should be enough. Let's put our headquarters in here so we've got a little bit of defense. We'll start our spawn. Okay, so we invoked right there. Okay, we are adding that power. Okay, we're adding that. So let's go in, make sure. Crystal powering up, wait until day is false. Okay, we're adding that communication. So communications now has 3 things. Okay, that's fine. I mean, we're playing super quick here, so. Yep. Yes, it didn't. Huh. Something's broken in my communication system. I need a... It doesn't work. Hey, next car. Things are coming along. Things are coming along. We're working a little bit on kind of the last major thing that needs a tune-up, and that's the enemy spawning. Okay, so once again, we've triggered our second spawn. We should have 2 crystals spawning. Yeah, so that's a bug. I'll have to solve that one on my own. This has been a bug for some reason. Something's happening that the communication's getting lost. Either that or I need to add in the ability to play next. So I have the ability to, most communications, if a communication gets added in the middle of the night, it won't play in general because we don't want that to happen. We want the player to be able to focus on the combat. And I think that's a good call. But in this case, we may also just want to be like, hey, this needs to get played next. I'm not entirely sure. Given the system that I have right now, I'm not entirely sure how that's going to happen. Okay, so... I mean, I think this is working. This is working for the most part. So if let's see here. Let's give ourselves a whole bunch more. I think if we get up to that, and then we start our spawn again. We didn't do quick days. Let's do quick days. Okay, so it's the same 2. All right, well, that didn't work out very well. Oh, there we go. I know you need to... Oh, you know what's happening is that we're not adding that communication because it already exists. We've already played it once. And the reason that's important is because here you can go forwards and backwards through your communications. All right, well, we got a 3rd spawn point in. That's good. Okay, that at least worked. Okay, so what I would like is for that next thing I want to work on is that each spawn point doesn't start spawning the same number of units as everything else, but it itself ramps up. So let's make that happen. And we're going to make that happen with get spawn waves. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to reinstitute this power level like so. What I'm going to do over here then is, so we got our spawn wave, that's all good. All right, let's look at where do spawn gets called. That should get called from the enemy crystal behavior. Great. So what I'm going to do instead, or not instead, what we're going to do is starting spawn power. So what we're going to do is basically we're going to track what the spawn power is when that crystal turns on, and then we're just going to subtract that from the current amount. And that's going to equal, did I get a spawn manager in this one? All right, so spawn power. Okay, like that. We need to change some of this naming. We've got some bad naming going on because we're changing stuff up here. Okay, so then what we want to do is we're going to do int power level equals math f min 1. So we're going to do spawn power minus starting spawn power. That should let us ramp up. Yeah, next card. That is what I have effectively is a message queue. That is what's happening in there. I am checking to see. I don't think it's actually a queue. I think it's a list. But I'm checking to see if that communication is already in the list, which is probably not necessary. Or what I could do is check and see if it is in the list. And if it is, we move it to the bottom of the list and play it again. That's probably the better way. Because if we have repeated, I don't know how useful it is to be able to go back through the communications that come in. The thought there was mostly for the tutorial that you can kind of control what's, like if you miss one or you missed an instruction or something, you could go back and hear it or read it again. It seemed like a user-friendly thing to do. Yeah, that would be a way to do it. If it's in there, we just grab it and stick it at the end of the communication. That would serve the same purpose. All right, let's see if that works. So what this should do is we'll get our first spawn. And all right, let's go to quick days. Make that a little bit easier. And we're going to bump up our reputation here to 1,000 so we get to that first threshold. Okay, we don't need a breakpoint there anymore. Or there. Yeah, I'm just being dumb here. Yep, that's just dumb. Let's fix that. Still want to use this one. We're still going to make sure that we come in with minimum spawn power 1. I'm liking this idea of using this kind of this reputation or colony wealth. We're turning that into that a little bit as a way of controlling the spawning. I like that quite a bit. It feels like a much better metric than what I was using before of just like how long can you survive. I mean, there's the pros and cons to both. Let's do a quick day. Let's add some rep before the day happens. Interesting. Huh, it just failed to build the path that time. There's no error, there's no... Okay, so now, so our power level 4. Yeah, spawn power 4. Let's go up a little bit. We should get, okay, now we've got 2 crystals showing up. That's good. All right, so now let's go up. So now we're at 8. And what I want to see is different spawns, different amounts of enemies being spawned from each area. Some of the timing of these things needs to be adjusted a little bit. It doesn't look to me like those were set particularly different size spawns. Oh, but we did trigger the other. We triggered the other. All right. Let's just put a breakpoint in there and see if we are, instead of trying to judge them by their visibility. Yep. I think I just double spawned there. All right. We hit our breakpoint. Okay, current spawn power is 8. Starting spawn power was 0. Yeah, that's my problem right there. I was saying this earlier. I swear, when I do max or min, I just, like, almost every time, I get it wrong. It doesn't matter. I just get it wrong. All right, we'll do one more quick test, and then I think we're going to call it quits for the day. I'm pretty happy with the general shape of this. Obviously, this needs to get tuned, needs to get balanced, but I'm pretty happy with the general idea of where this is going. This feels way better to me than just looking at the number of days and spawning from there. All right, so actually, let's go down. We'll start one spawn. Quick days. We'll add some more rep while we're here. Oh, interesting. Like, it's having a hard... Okay, so I think now this has happened a second time. I'm pretty sure I've broken Oh no, because it just didn't generate the... It just didn't generate the path correctly. I still feel like somehow I've broken something because I've seen that error occasionally and I've tried to fix it, but I haven't seen it in a very long time. Now to see it twice in a row seems a little strange. Okay, so let's bump up to the next level so we get... Okay, spawn power is 5. Starting power was 0. So, okay, that's correct. The next one here, we're still at 5. Starting power was 5. So our current spawn, okay. Awesome. Here's my other guy. Okay. Yeah, we get an exception here if it doesn't like that, but okay. I mean somehow I broke the part where the game ends when you lose your headquarters. I think I just turned off the object that controls that. I'm definitely bothered. Let's try this one more time. I want to see one more time. Did I really break something? Or was that the fact that it didn't spawn a correct path twice in a row? That's just not a problem that I've really seen. So let's see if we generate the same issue here. Jump the gun a little bit here. World's not actually fully built yet. I'm not going to push the quick day button. I'm wondering if that might have screwed it up a little bit, changing the timing of things. Shouldn't, but maybe it did. Huh. Get rid of that marker, I think. But okay, well, obviously got a few bugs to fix, but I'm gonna call it quits for now. I am, again, despite the bugs, I'm pretty happy with this new approach. I think it makes more sense. I think it will make this more scalable, easier to scale, and hopefully, and just make for a better experience for the player. I got a few bugs to fix, but I got till October now, so. All right. Thank you guys. Next car, appreciate you dropping by. We should be back next Thursday again. Anyways, I will see you guys then, and thanks for joining.